So the other day, I was going around YouTube looking for something to watch, and YouTube recommended me this little number by FETV. I thought, hey, that looks pretty interesting. I love Subnautica, I've been playing it for years. Let's give it a shot. And it was a great video, and it gave me an idea while I was watching it. Instead of no vehicles, could you beat the game with no tools at all? At first I kind of thought, probably not, that sounds pretty impossible. But then I decided, hey, I got nothing better to do, why not give it a try? So I just wanted to credit FETV's video for actually giving me that idea. Go check him out, he's got some very well made videos. So as for the question itself, can you beat Subnautica without using any tools? Well, the first thing we have to ask is, what is a tool? What does the game clarify as a tool? So these items here are all the tools in the game, technically. So that is the air bladder, flares, flashlight, habitat builder, laser cutter, light stick, pathfinder tool, propulsion cannon, repair tool, propulsion cannon, scanner, stasis rifle, knife, and the thermoblade. So real quick, let's just go over those. The air bladder, it's pretty useless, you don't really need it. Flares, even more useless, really. A flashlight, it can be kind of handy, but you don't need it. Habitat builder, yeah. So no bases. I'm not going to be able to build any bases. The laser cutter, that's another big one because there's a lot of wrecks in the game, and if I remember correctly, you do need the laser cutter to get into the Aurora, but I guess that's a bridge we'll have to cross when we get to it. Light stick, probably the most useless on the list there. Pathfinder tool, pretty useless again. Propulsion cannon, don't really need it. Repair tool, that's a very big one. You absolutely need that, but guess we're not going to use it. The repulsion cannon, that's even less required than the propulsion cannon. The scanner, I would argue that's probably the number one on the list that you would need, but we're not going to be using it. Stasis rifle, it's handy, but you don't need it. The knife, yeah, it's pretty much a necessity, but yeah, again, no knife for us. And the thermoblade is obviously just an upgraded version of the knife. So of those 14 tools, only 5 of them are really necessary. Beating the game without these is gonna be a hell of a challenge. But there's no use putting it off any longer, let's just get straight into it.
Launch in 3, 2, 1.
So our first problem is not even 1 minute into the game, where you need to pick up a fire extinguisher to extinguish the fire in your life pod. Now, while I didn't say this was a tool in the list earlier, in the spirit of the challenge, I would consider it a tool. So I try to find a way around having to actually extinguish the fire. Now, I tried a few things. My first instinct was to just try and climb out of the life pod without even extinguishing the fire and just letting it burn. But the game doesn't let you do that.
No.
Another was, what if the fire actually kills you? Maybe it, puts you ahead of the checkpoint or something. So I tested that, and that didn't work. I also noticed sometimes you get this weird glitch if you die to fire, where the fire just surrounds your screen as if you're burning, but it doesn't actually damage you, thankfully. So for about 10 minutes, I jumped around the life pod trying to glitch out, just by sheer luck. But yeah, I knew that wasn't going to happen. I knew I had to extinguish this fire, and the first thing going through my head was, well, we had a good run. Yeah, the challenge is already dead. But then suddenly, a stroke of genius. What if I was dead when I extinguished the fire?
What?
Can a dead person use a tool? Now hear me out on this one. If I'm a corpse holding a fire extinguisher and my hand happens to be closing the grip lever thing, does that count as me extinguishing the fire? The good thing about that question is we don't need to answer it, because I found out that if you just skip the cutscene, it actually just puts you in front of the fire.
I confess I'm very good at video games.
Well, that was a good use of 20 minutes. So on to the next phase. So my main objective was to obviously get cured. So I jumped in the water and I started swimming for the mountain island. My plan was to pick up the purple tablet and unlock the gun. After that, I really had no idea what to do next.
Green, what's your problem, Green? What is your problem? Missile alone ramp.
So my overall goal was to get down to the Emperor in the lava lakes. The majority of the game is just trying to get cured. Long story short, I needed to get from the surface to the bottom of the map. Doing this without any vehicles or bases is going to be extremely difficult. Now, while neither vehicles nor the mobile vehicle bay actually fall under the tool category, I figured vehicles might make it a little too easy. Not that it mattered anyway, because I don't have a scanner, so I can't get vehicles even if I wanted to. And I obviously decided to include the Sea Glide in this as well. Again, couldn't scan the fragments anyway. So all I had was my O2 tanks and my little flippers. Sorry Seamoth, little buddy. Not this time. My first idea was, what if I stack a bunch of O2 tanks in my inventory and just try to beeline it straight to the lava lakes? Yeah, not a chance. I spent about an hour gathering the materials for a bunch of O2 tanks, and it's not even nearly enough to get you that deep. Not to mention, I only had the one fabricator to build all of my stuff, and it keeps running out of power because they're solar powered chargers. Now, if you were observant, you might have noticed something there. For some reason, my life pod appears to have been repaired, which is strange because, as you can see, I don't have a repair tool, and the wiring is still damaged, but yet the radio is fine and the screen displays all systems okay. So I'm not sure if that's a bug or if that's supposed to happen, but either way, I don't think it really matters to the run very much because the radio doesn't really do anything for you. So that means the medkit fabricator is now working, which is actually very beneficial to us. So we're just going to turn around and pretend we saw nothing.
Look, Mama won't let me go over there.
Why not?
I can't swim.
You can't what?
I can't swim.
How old are you?
6.
So with the air tank strategy out the window, we need another method. Now thankfully, pipes are under equipment, not tools. However, I can understand if you kind of see that as a bit of a grey area, because you do hold them and you do, use them, but technically they are equipment. So I drew myself a bit of slack on this one and decided, yeah, I don't see any problem with it. So now maybe we might actually have a solution. We may be able to get as deep as we want without any bases or vehicles.
Woo! Yeah, baby!
But don't worry, it sounds too good to be true, right? Yeah, well, there is a catch. If I want to lead pipes from the surface all the way down to, 1,300 meters, that's going to take a lot of materials and a lot of time. What you'll see now is me starting the very long pipe chain that will lead all the way down to the bottom of the map. But first, what I needed to do was actually find an entrance to the Lost River. Now I knew there was one down in the blood kelp zone, so I had to swim down there and just look around for it. And let me tell you, swimming around these deep biomes with no vehicles and just pipes in your inventory, it's pretty spine-chilling, it really is. So honestly, that's just credit to how well the game is designed, I think. So after some searching, I managed to find one of the entrances, and I made sure it was the one I wanted. That's closest to the entrance to the inactive lava zone. Turns out, there's a ghost leviathan in the blood kelp. Which is news to me, and I almost swam straight into him. So now, not only was I over 1 kilometer away from my life pod, and having to lead pipes from the surface all the way down into the Lost River, but now there was a ghost leviathan roaming around the area. But nonetheless, I continued the plan, and thankfully he never even came near me, so I didn't have to deal with him. What I did have to deal with, however, and honestly it's giving me PTSD even just thinking about it, was in order to get to the one fabricator on the map I could actually use, I would have to swim to my life pod, which was about 1.4 kilometers away, get a bunch of titanium, turn them all into pipes. I would then need to swim with said pipes all the way back to my air pump, and swim all the way down and start continuing the journey again. I could only get so far before I'd run out of pipes and had to swim all the way back and get more. Keep in mind, these trips would have to take anywhere from 20 minutes to over an hour, because the deeper I got, the more distance I had to cover each time. Now, I was an idiot and I didn't realize that once I placed my pipes, I could just kill myself in the game, of course, and I would spawn back at the life pod, which would cut the journey almost in half. So for most of it, I didn't even think about that. Later on I did, but yeah, look, to be honest, I could have cut a lot of time out of it if I remembered that. So my gameplay loop looks something like this. Swim around, find 4 or 5 pieces of metal salvage, turn that all into titanium, turn all the titanium into pipes, make sure I'm full on food and water, maybe bring some if I needed to. So then I would swim out in a rough direction of north, and I knew I needed to be about 1.4 kilometers away from my life pod. So once I got around that distance, I had to look around and just swim all over the place, desperately trying to find where my tiny little air pump was. It took a while sometimes. Once I managed to find my air pump, swim straight down, follow the trail, and just continue the pipeline. And once I ran out of pipes, I would swim back and do it all again. As you could imagine, this was pretty tiring. This was by far the longest part of my journey, and took me roughly 15 to 20 hours just to do this part. The local predators were not happy to see me either. In the ghost forest there is a ghost leviathan, as well as river prowlers and a bunch of blood crawlers, basically just harassing me the whole time when I'm just trying to do my job. But to be honest, predators in this game are fairly easy to avoid if you just sort of maneuver around them. Ghost leviathans are very weird when you're not in a vehicle. Normally they're pretty aggressive and they'll hone in right on you, but for some reason when you're just swimming around, they either completely ignore you, or they will detect you from 500 meters away and lock onto you like a heat seeker. Like right here, for example. He's very close to me, and normally if you were in a sea moth or a prawn suit, he'd go right for you, but he wants nothing to do with me.
30 seconds.
And now that he's 300 meters away from me, all of a sudden, I smell like bacon. It's a real good thing the moron doesn't know how to navigate around trees.
Man, it's getting hot in here. I hope you don't mind. I unbutton a couple buttons here.
So by this stage, I was getting into the inactive lava zone. My pipe train was pretty much in there. And it was at this stage that I realized I could just start letting myself drown or burn to death in order to get back to my life pod a lot quicker. So now that we're in the inactive lava zone, we are presented with another challenge. Heat. Anything above 50 degrees will slowly kill you at slightly less than 1 health a second. So you have a little over 2 minutes before you burn to death. Luckily, I was stocking up on medkits from the little fabricator. So you just need to carry a couple of those on you and you can get through. Because I'm not sure if you knew, but swimming through water that's 50 degrees, burning you alive, all you need is some bandages and you'll be fine. So at this stage my gameplay loop had transitioned into getting a bunch of pipes, going as far as I can, and just letting the heat take me away. I knew I needed to get into the lava castle, because the blue tablet is in there, and I was going to need to get kyanite. But that didn't seem too hard, because the entrance to the active lava zone is right next to the entrance to the lava castle. So all I needed to do was just take a quick detour and grab my stuff. Now, if you want to talk about aggressive leviathans in this game, oh boy, the sea dragon.
Fish!
As soon as you are in his field of view, he will gun for you. And he will be relentless. I mean, he actually managed to damage me. Compare the threat of the sea dragon with the threat of the ghost leviathan, and I mean, look at him. Can't even touch me. But either way, I still managed to get past him and get into the thermal plant. So now I had my blue tablet and I was well on the way to getting cured. So now that we're through the inactive lava zone, we're in the active lava zone, or the lava lakes. I'm pretty sure there's 2 sea dragons down here, but normally you're only going to run into 1. However, it is also hotter in this area. It is 70 degrees as opposed to 50. So you actually do die slightly faster. Now, in order to get into the primary containment facility, I actually had to swim quite a distance. And that's directly through the patrol route of the sea dragon. So I thought there may be a bit of a problem here. But in reality, I just swam for it, and my god, he got his ankles shattered. Absolutely shattered. The guy couldn't touch me. I mean, look at these moves.
Whaley has landed several of those inside low kicks.
Now, with the sea dragon's ego sufficiently destroyed, we can move on. Now that we're finally in the actual facility, I decided to get straight to work. I turned on one of the portals that goes to a mushroom forest, so I could get to and from my life pod a lot quicker now, and I went and met the Emperor. Alright, now look, I just want to make sure you're sitting down for this next part, okay? Unfortunately, even with our efforts, in order to continue the game, we do need a knife. I know. I'm just as gutted as you are. I'm sorry. I wish there was something I could do. Jesus, alright, calm down. My god, there's even more of you now. Stop it, don't break my windows! But in all seriousness, yeah, we've hit a bit of a dead end here. In order to get cured, you need the enzyme from the younglings, and in order to hatch them, you need the hatching enzymes. And to get the hatching enzymes, you need to go around the map and cut a bunch of plants to get their seeds. So, what I figured was, instead of just doing it straight away, why don't we put a pin in it and move on to a different project? That being the Aurora. I don't know if you've noticed, but I haven't even gone near it, or even mentioned it really, this whole time. And that's because I was pretty sure that I was going to need a tool for it. At least one. Now, the game gives you the radiation blueprint as soon as the Aurora explodes. However, in order to build it, you do need creepvine samples, and to get those, you need a knife. And of course, we don't have one of those. Never heard of it. So, our only real option is to try and face tank the radiation, just like we did in the lava zones. My first worry is that radiation was going to kill me much faster than heat would, which it does. However, it's still not too bad. So, just as a little test, I spawned in a bunch of medkits on a different save. just to test whether it was possible. Could you get through the whole Aurora with nothing but medkits? Now there is one option. It's pretty easy to glitch into the Aurora, really not needing to use any tools. But of course, I wasn't going to do that. My very far-fetched hope was that I'd be able to get through the Aurora without having to repair or cut any doors. Unfortunately, that's not the case. I tried jumping my way over some crates to get in the second entrance. Not that it would have mattered anyway, you still need a laser cutter. There's two ways into the Aurora. One of them, you need both a repair tool and a laser cutter. And the other way, you need a laser cutter and a propulsion cannon. So either way, you need at least 2 tools. And, as if that wasn't enough, we still need to build a knife. In a last-ditch attempt, I tried using gas pods to damage the flora. I thought maybe, just maybe, I could destroy the plant and it would drop a seed or something. But that was to no avail. So I went through the Aurora, got the blueprint for the rocket, and then remembered I was going to need a Cyclops shield generator anyway to build the rocket. And to get that, you actually have to build the Cyclops itself. Basically, at the very end of the game, a ton of things just start piling up and you realize it's not possible. To build the rocket, you need plasteel ingots, and to get plasteel ingots, you have to scan a blueprint for a vehicle. So, if we want to just get down to the nitty-gritty of it, can you beat the game with no tools? Not really, no. You can beat the vast majority of the game without using any tools. Even more of it if you're willing to do a few wall breaches here and there. But by the end, if you want to get off the planet, you're going to need some tools. Specifically, a scanner, a knife, a repair tool, and a laser cutter. I made sure to put my tools in the time capsule because I was not bringing those back home. It caused me too much pain. So no, it wasn't totally possible, unfortunately. But hey, that's what life's all about, right? So, no big deal. Live and learn.
Humility. I like it. I too am extraordinarily humble.
Sure. A great opportunity squandered? Absolutely. A crushing blow? Yes. Will I get over it? No. But life goes on. Not for me.